Hi, it's Don Southerton again. This is the second part of my series on South Korea, a roadmap to economic recovery. Part 2 is going to be focusing on industry and automotive. Let's go ahead and get started. In the second segment in the recovery series, we look at how Korea as a first mover could be the model for best practices in maintaining the industrial workforce and preserving jobs. Like most of the world, government intervention is the cornerstone of South Korea's recovery. South Korean President Moon has announced a massive relief recovery worth billions for South Korea's key industries disrupted by the virus. Preventing layoffs and creating jobs has been the top priority of the government. The funds meant to use them to help weather the crisis, which the Korean president has characterized as the worst since the 1997 IMF fiscal crisis, which decimated Korean industries. The goal is to maintain employment. Moon also unveiled an additional job protection plan to cushion the COVID-19 impact on the country's overall job market. This includes a New Deal program for job creation in the digital sector too. Drilling deeper. A significant portion of Korea's economy has long been, and the backbone has been, export-driven sectors, especially those hard-hit industries including aviation, oil refinery, shipping, shipbuilding, and car production. As in past crises, senior government officials recently met with a group of top chaebol executives. The participants included Samsung, Hyundai, SK Holding, LG, and Lotte. Now, although these were closed-door meetings, they seem to have centered strongly on persuading the leading employers to maintain employment in the face of the corona-related challenges. The auto sector. In a separate round of talks, senior officials from the 5 leading local automakers and 9 part manufacturers met with the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy. Now, the 5 domestic automakers in Korea are Hyundai, Kia, GM Korea, SsangYong, and Renault Samsung. They account for about 150,000 jobs in Korea. With their supply chain, there's roughly close to 9,000 partner companies that employ about just under 250,000 worker jobs. So a very significant portion of the economy. According to the Korean Automotive Manufacturers Association, these auto industry officials said they needed about $34 billion to maintain the workforce, operate facilities, and keep the maintain fixed costs for the next 3 months. Now, they'd already secured about $10 billion in emergency funds, but they had reached out to the government to help with that $26 billion balance in emergency loans to save the automotive and associated companies from suffering from the impact of the pandemic. Now, the automakers also required and requested tax cuts to overcome the negative sales and production. Now, this is the interesting part of it. As a conditioning for the funding, the government pressed the automakers to maintain their employment numbers. And also, with government intervention to make up for some overseas losses and to boost domestic sales, the government will also expedite the order of 87,000 EVs and make an advance payment of up to 70%. So again, this is going to help boost that economy with these 8,700 cars. Strong local demand. Still, we're seeing strong local demand in Korea's domestic auto market, as the COVID-19 cases have been dropping without the mandatory drastic message such as a nationwide stay-at-home and remote work. Korean customers are still beginning to venture back into the auto showrooms. Hyundai's domestic sales in March hit the highest level in more than 4 years, up 80% from February 2020. Now, much of this is driven by really attractive discounts, installment payment plans, as well as a cut in the government's consumption tax. Hyundai also noted strong pre-orders for new models like the upcoming Elantra and the Genesis G80. Now, an upswing in local sales is welcome, especially news for Hyundai and Kia and the other who've really weathered many challenges over the past 3 months. In February, Hyundai and Kia had suspended operations, hamstrung by a lack of Chinese-sourced products from the outbreak in China that crippled the output from China. As the COVID-19 peaked in Korea, some plants have also had to go and close briefly as safety precautions. Now, these were very short-term breaks, but still interrupted production. Though more pressing, although local sales are a cushion, little has prepared these Korean automakers for the drop in demand overseas and the unexpected halt in all the overseas production facilities. Although domestic production in March was up 95%, with a slump in global sales and demand taking hold, we're beginning to see Korean production to take dramatic steps. For example, Hyundai halted production for 4 days on the sport utility vehicles Palisades, Tucson, Santa Fe, and Genesis, the new Genesis GV80. Sister company Kia also is looking to suspend 4 of their plants with a mix of closures to keep inventories levels manageable and stay flexible to overseas demands. Now, as an additional countermeasure, Hyundai and Kia have decided to halt all their domestic factories from May 1st, which is Korea's Labor Day, to May 5th, the nation's Children's Day, both public holidays. Korea's other car brands and related industries are mulling similar moves. Some suppliers are considering extending shutdowns into mid-May. Preserving the workforce. Noting the huge task for Korea and global downturns, with much of the companies in employment driven by export-driven sectors like automotive, how Korea preserves their workforce and jobs will take considerable effort and savvy. It's a difficult balance between mitigating business losses and holding on to those jobs. For one, as Korea groups have shifted manufacturing overseas, the lessons learned from COVID-19 is to have less concentrated supplier and production base, which means spreading things around. This, however, doesn't help the local Korean employment market. Next, Korean government is but a part of the solution. More so, to be agile and scalable in production, one that can grapple and carry on through unforeseen and disruptive times. Again, countermeasures need to be in place as new situations unfold. With unemployment spiking globally, the lessons learned, if Korea can successfully maintain their workforce in the wake of the crisis, will be the greatest interest as regions and nations emerge from COVID-19, many facing the same tough challenges. As always, this is Don Southerton, open to your questions and comments. I'm also always looking for interviews, webinars, and business opportunities. Thank you. Talk soon.